must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us. As the COVID-19 pandemic spreads across the globe, we are seeing an alarming pattern. The poorest and most vulnerable members of society are being hardest hit, both by the pandemic and the response. I am especially concerned about the well-being of the world's children. Thankfully, children have so far been largely spared from the most severe symptoms of the disease, but their lives are being totally upended. I appeal to families everywhere and leaders at all levels: protect our children. Today, we are launching a report that highlights the risks they face. First, education. Almost all students are now out of school. Some schools are offering distance learning, but this is not available to all. Children in countries with slow and expensive internet services are severely disadvantaged. Second, food. A staggering 310 million school children, nearly half of the world's total, rely on school for a regular source of daily nutrition. Even before COVID-19, the world faced unacceptable rates of childhood malnutrition and stunting. Third, safety. With children out of school, their communities in lockdown and the global recession biting deeper, family stress levels are rising. Children are both victims and witnesses of domestic violence and abuse. With schools closed, an important early warning mechanism is missing. There is also a danger that girls will drop out of school, leading to an increase in teenage pregnancies. And we must not ignore the growing risks children are facing as they spend more time online. This can leave children vulnerable to online sexual exploitation and grooming. A lack of face-to-face contact with friends and partners may lead to heightened risk-taking, such as sending sexualized images, and increased and unstructured time online may expose children to potentially harmful and violent content, as well as greater risk of cyberbullying. Governments and parents all have a role in keeping children safe. Social media companies have a special responsibility to protect the vulnerable. Fourth, health. Reduced household income will force poor families to cut back on essential health and food expenditures, particularly affecting children, pregnant women, and breastfeeding mothers. Polio vaccination campaigns have been suspended. Measles immunization campaigns have stopped in at least 23 countries. And as health services become overwhelmed, sick children are less able to access care. With the global recession gathering pace, there could be hundreds of thousands additional child deaths in 2020. These are just some of the findings of the report we are issuing today. And its conclusion is clear. We must act now on each of these threats to our children. Leaders must do everything in their power to cushion the impact of the pandemic. What started as a public health emergency has snowballed into a formidable test for the global promise to leave no one behind. The report urges government and donors to prioritize education for all children. It recommends they provide economic assistance, including cash transfers, to low-income families, and minimize disruptions to social and healthcare services for children. We must also prioritize the most vulnerable: children in conflict situations, child refugees and displaced persons, children living with disabilities. Finally, we must commit to building back better by using the recovery from COVID-19 to pursue a more sustainable and inclusive economy and society in line with the Sustainable Development Goals. With the pandemic placing so many of the world's children in jeopardy, I reiterate my urgent appeal. Let us protect our children and safeguard their well-being.
Extraordinary times we are living in demand extraordinary sacrifices understanding and awareness from each and every one of us. Our common heritage as a people is under immense threat, and our limits as a society is being tested to its core. I have said this before, that this is the time for all of us to fight from the same side. If we do not do that, this virus will get the better of us. The measures we have so far put in place, which include the targeted mass testing, offer an opportunity to effectively fight this war. And we fight together, not against each other. To our brothers and sisters in quarantine and isolation centers, we know what you are going through. Most of you have kept the promise, except for a few who have wavered. Everybody is being called upon to make a little sacrifice. It is much better to be counted as among those who helped keep COVID-19 at bay than to be counted as the inconsiderate few who have failed to appreciate the danger that this pandemic presents. What is required is a little bit more patience, sacrifice, and understanding from you, your families, friends, and Kenyans at large. We are also aware that within the same institutions, a number of people are going to the extent of offering bribes to get out of quarantine facilities. This is wrong. I am aware, for example, that in the county of Mandela, there are people, and this has been confirmed to me by the governor, that there are people who bribed their way out of quarantine. Both those who did that and those who let them off will face the full force of the law. We have also noted that there are people who are not complying with the movement restrictions in and out of counties and even from neighboring countries. On this, I want to caution truck drivers who I'm informed are smuggling people from one restricted area to another. I want to tell such irresponsible persons that they are rolling back our efforts to fight this disease. The enforcement agencies are there to deal with these issues, not to become participants in it. I am informed, for example, and this illustrates exactly what we are saying. The governor of Homa Bay informed me this morning of a group of people who traveled from Nairobi in a private vehicle, pretending that they were attending a funeral, fully equipped with an empty coffin, to illustrate that indeed that they were mourners. Those people traveled all the way from Nairobi during this period when we were stopped movement from Nairobi. They managed to come from Nairobi, traveled all the way to Homa Bay, and thanks to the Homa Bay Authority, Governor's Authority, and administration, somebody got suspicious. And on opening the coffin, obviously found out what I am now informing you. They were immediately put in quarantine, and today I can confirm that the driver is positive. This is what we are talking about. This person has now taken the disease to Homa Bay, where we have now tested the first positive case in Homa Bay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I am telling Kenyans, that until and unless we become self-disciplined, this disease is going to finish us. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Kenyans, I am informed that there are people transporting, even in matatus, into and out of the city. And once they get to a roadblock, they pay and come round the roadblock and walk and are taken again by an empty vehicle or otherwise. In other words, transporters are organizing themselves to pick at each point where there is a roadblock. I am also informed that there are individuals who now have decided that if you come from Nairobi and they know that you came from Nairobi, then they call the authorities and let them know instantly.
Thank you very much, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television. Good afternoon, wherever you are in Africa, in Cairo, in Cape Town, in Abidjan, in Morocco, Rabat, Algiers, Tunis, Asmara, in Washington, D.C., New York, London. Thank you very much, wherever you are listening to us, watching us live from the satellite system of Punchline Africa Television, hooked to Washington, D.C., and hooked to Nairobi. Good afternoon, viewers. Good afternoon, Miriam.
A very good afternoon to you, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jeff Kalui.
Good afternoon.
From let me introduce you, a former presidential candidate in the 2017 general elections, a professor in the same department, the same field of medicine. I don't know, you call it communal medicine. You will tell us more. A very senior person, a person who knows something about social distancing, a person who should be working with Mutahe Kagwe down in Nairobi to give us guidelines of how he has escaped his COVID-19 in Washington. And you remember, for us, we bring on the things that are different from the rest of the people. Our topic today, before we come to COVID-19, we'll begin with updates. Kenya today, Miriam, I will only do Kenya or East Africa for bringing up to date for doctor to do an analysis to understand exactly what is happening in the world. Kenya today has 262 confirmed cases, and the number of people who have died in Kenya are 12. The number of recoveries, 60. South Sudan, which are our neighbors, 4 cases, 0 recovery, 0 death. Uganda, 55, recovered 22, dead 0. Tanzania, 147, dead 5, recovered 11. South Africa, 3,034 people, dead 52, recovered 903. And Algeria, 2,534. The death toll in Algeria is the highest in Africa, with 367. Recovered number of people, 894. Burundi, 5 people only confirmed. They closed their border. They sealed everything, including the dog on the streets of Burundi. Nothing moved except the dogs, and maybe some animals and the birds. 1 person dead, recovered 0. Zimbabwe, 25, dead 3, 2 recovered. And another, Somalia, oh my God. Somalia, 135, 7 dead, recovered 2. And Cameroon, 1,017 people, 42 dead, 3,305 recovered. I'm looking for another African country with a population of 200 million, Nigeria, 542, 19 dead, recovered 166. The importance of Nigeria is that the army has killed more people than COVID-19. We don't hide. DRC Congo, 327 people, 25 dead, 26 recovered. Rwanda, Paulo Kagame, confirmed cases 144, no 69 recovered, no deaths, and the discipline in Rwanda has helped. Rwanda got this disease from flying planes. One of the planes is called Ethiopian Airlines. Another one is called KLM. It went on delivering this disease around Africa. Deliver. They delivered. I tell it as it is. Ethiopian Airlines did not stop. It went on carrying people in Europe, those who had been rejected by other airlines. It has caused us this problem also. So we are not going to keep quiet and die. If we are dead, then shall we speak? We shall not speak. Plus an Ethiopian man called Tedros. That one in the World Health Organization. On this one, Trump, you are in Washington, D.C. Write the letter to Trump to return the money to WHO, but remove. We want Mr. Tedros to resign. He should not handle that position at all. He's a thief. I have evidence why I'm labeling him a thief. Because I worked with him in London, I know who he is. Zenawi, Meles Zenawi, may your soul rest in peace. The thief is still here. You remember what, you are down 6 feet, but remember this guy, what he did to us, and we lost our funding in the United Kingdom. Who is he? I don't know how they gave him this position. But God will help us. As Africans, we should have been very happy, very ready. Those are the numbers of our neighbors around Kenya. So, Dr. Jeff Karui, former presidential candidate in the 2017 Kenyan elections. Good morning.
Thank you for such a kind welcome and introduction, and good morning. Here it's good afternoon in Kenya, and I am always a pleasure to be in your show. I even have a lot of gadgets that shows punchline. I've been there many times.
Thank you.
Looking forward for the great discussion.
I hope you are wearing your mask, because we are looking for
my mask is with me. My mask is with me here, and yes, I'm ready for duty as a health professional. So My mask is with me as always. It's good to have it ready.
I have my mask.
Put it on anytime we need the calls.
We can do it. Let's start. You have seen the figures yourself. You are an educated person in this field of community health analysis, how to help people. Kenya government should be looking out for people like you to come back home. Now, unfortunately, we have to hire a whole jumbo jet, then you come to be in quarantine. We lost you because you are that side. When you reach here, you have to be in quarantine. So it is unfortunate. But wherever you are, I've looked for you to give us a glimpse of what is expected as to whether Kenya government is doing a right thing, a proper thing. I am personally very satisfied that the new CS of Health has done a good job. Your comments?
Oh, sure. First, I want to say congratulate the leadership, because this is, and plus the health professionals, because this is a collective effort. It is not just a matter of satisfaction. The results in Kenya show, compared to other countries, we have had a slow creeping of the disease. There's a reason to that, because the health CS, the president, and even the security team, they jumped on it as soon as it was clear that we were under attack. The borders were closed, except for the cargo and all that must continue because we need the supplies in Kenya. But the kind of effort, the push, you see it on TV every day with CS Mutahi Kagwe, and he has done a phenomenal job. I'm not just saying it, the Kenyans are talking about it, because there is a reason to all this effort. The idea of COVID-19 or any virus, and I will say that with authority. My work was more to do with viral diseases, infectious diseases from the School of Medicine. We have to cut the cycle of the disease, because it does not move from one place to the other by itself. It has to be transmitted or left on a surface where it's picked up by someone. And we have been, I always, with the Kenyan people, I just left just before the borders were closed. And, we have put the measures of social distancing. They have been effective. They are showing results. Recoveries are very many. The deaths are low. And we have also slowed some infections, a lot of infections. 262 is a lower number. That doesn't mean that we are not going to get more. But if we keep the effort, it is very promising that we will keep the disease at lower numbers, which is very important. At the same time, taking measures not just to social distancing and washing our hands and sanitizing. We need to be doing more testing. And I had written a piece on what it means to be testing, because we need to understand. I would like definitely the research community in Kenya, and I keep on challenging them because they are my colleagues. It is time to shine and be able to explain to people in simple terms why, where, and how we can get infected by this disease. Soon COVID will be over, and this opportunity where they can shine, and you do not, patriotism calls not just always, and I don't like the idea of everybody got to be paid to do something. There is volunteerism, there's patriotism, where you just wake up and serve your country because you are a citizen. So I need to challenge the community to do that. But at the same time, Mutahi Kagwe, the president, and also Matiang'i, they should not be left out. They are part of the effort. You don't have to be a pure professional to be in the effort. So I cannot imagine this fight without those folks and the leadership. So we need to make sure that they are taking care of themselves at the same time, wearing the mask, making sure even when they are making those conference calls, they are sure they are being protected. So far, Kenya is doing well, and I am confident of that. I like what is happening, and congratulations to the CS and the leadership.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's switch to some other subject. Collective leadership is the answer to the fight against COVID-19. You are a researcher, you are a doctor yourself, you know very well you cannot win and go through with the research without collective leadership. Is there collective leadership in Kenya?
I would say at the moment, the politics in Kenya have been very toxic, particularly pre-corona era. And it always finds its way to creep in through the crevices back to the national surfaces or national issues. But I want to say that it is not completely clear of collective responsibility. I want to make sure that we understand collective responsibility, which means that we all have to pull together when we are threatened by any danger or we face a risk. I was in New York City. I worked for JP Morgan Chase at the time in Wall Street, early 2000s during the September 11th. I was there. And after the September 11th, all the Americans, and especially New Yorkers, they came together because they faced their danger together as a nation. There were politics, but they had to set aside the politics and fight the terrorism. Now, whenever a country, that's a good example, whenever a country is faced by a national danger or risk, all the politics have to shed because the politics will always be there. We must save the country first. Without a country, there are no politics to play. So if we allow ourselves to be devastated or to be destroyed by coronavirus and get into the politics before we secure our house, then it will be counterproductive. We will be doing a zero-sum job. So there are politics that come out on the sides. This person is competing with this person, and also trying to shoot the president down in terms of he has done a good job or a bad job. We have never had a coronavirus before. Mutahi Kagwe has never faced coronavirus. President Kenyatta have never faced coronavirus, and so is Matiang'i, and all of us, we have never faced coronavirus. So it is time. Sometimes we might make a few mistakes, and then we correct course. I haven't seen an area when people talked about food. Now the government listened, and it's always listening. No question about that. They listened. They are issuing food, identifying the risky families. So we have to see this as a collective responsibility and a danger to the society, to Kenya as a nation, a family that we must save. So the politics must cease, and I'm asking all Kenyans, all leaders, all politicians to cease all politics. We fight this disease together. We are winning so far because of the good measures that we have put in place. So we must finish the job, and we cannot relent. Just because we have lower numbers doesn't mean we get comfortable. In fact, it is time to put more pressure to support the current efforts. This is not about President Kenyatta. This is not about Kagwe. This is not about who is benefiting. It's not about who will be president in 2022. That should not even be featuring anywhere. It is about saving our country. Yes.
Dr. Karui, you have touched a point which I want Miriam to, in the studio, to read. Why are people in Kenya, one, not respecting what the guidelines? Somebody transports a dead, purportedly fake dead body miles away into Homa Bay. Two, questions have been lingering. Where is the deputy president? I think Miriam read that for us. You are in the studio. Mm-hmm. There is a paper that you have very clearly, so that the doctor is not in Nairobi, is in Washington. And for us, our television station does not hide. We are saying it as it is. Miriam, over to you.
Yes, indeed, there are very important points that Dr. Kalu, you just brought up. And the way he said, as much as Kenyans, we have a very low number, this is the time that the government should continue even putting more stringent measures to ensure that Kenyans are safe. Because you've seen also, Doctor, just before I look at that, those fake mourners, I'm still upset as a Kenyan. Like, how dare them? And then to make it worse, the driver tested positive for the COVID-19. So I can't even wrap my mind around it. But we've seen the government putting some measures, and even the Muslim community in this country, they're about to start the fasting, and they wanted the government to in the matter of the curfew, for it to review the curfew. And the government has come out and said, no, we cannot do that because it is important to ensure that we stay safe. So in that regard, some of these things, you wonder, why are Kenyans not following these measures that have been put in place by the government? Of course, in and out of Nairobi was stopped for now nearly 2 weeks, and we've seen people devising ways to go to, doctor, their villages, as opposed to what the government had said. And we saw these particular people even carried a coffin, traveled all the way to the village. They arrived there, 8 of them, fake mourners, and then turns out when they were put into quarantine, they were tested first. The driver tested to have had COVID-19. I'm very, very angry at people like this. As a Kenyan, can you imagine if they were to be left and go on about their businesses in the village? What would that have happened, and what number of people would have been infected in that village, doctor, that they were going? So in your response to the question you asked, why are people not paying attention to that? It's ridiculous. And people like this should not only be put in quarantine, after that they should face the law period. 10 years at least, if you ask me.
The second question that I had asked, there are questions lingering in the social media, why the deputy president is missing, and I want to put it to you, the former presidential candidate in the 2017 elections. The questions of Deputy President William Ruto whereabouts surfaced in the whole week and other weeks. Then he surfaced with a document that he read, and then he disappeared again, and then he came up with the party wrangles and other MPs supporting him. He has not been collectively helping the leadership, whether he does it at night, at midnight, during daytime. It is only wizards who do it at night. So I don't know what your comments are, because this is, Miriam, we have had a lot of questions coming from so many people, and they asked, the public is querying what is happening. Then all of a sudden, politics erupts. People are fighting over a party. Now, this is making headlines, even in the paper, that there were plots to change this during the burial of President Moi. We are not adding any salt to anything. We are stating what is in the papers, so that Dr. Karui can answer. What do you think? Collective responsibility means what? What is collective responsibility? Do you just occupy the office and say you are working when this is a dangerous enemy? We are at war. This country is at war. America is at war. You can't have Pence running away from Trump. America is at war. All commanders are at war. We have an invisible enemy. Now here in Africa, people are talking of parties, certificates, occupying the Jubilee House, occupying this. What does this help a local citizen in Kenya? People are telling people to ban newspapers in their localities. Hello, you remember the world is watching. All these youths who are picking newspapers, who's paying them money to buy newspapers if they cannot even afford shoes? Who pays them the money to buy the newspapers of a particular company and ban them? These things will be asked. These things will be recorded. These things are being recorded, Jermaine. Some of us suffered. Some of us suffered. Some of us suffered. Some of us suffered. Defending. So munaanza tena wa Kenya kuleta mavurugano ya kusema if someone writes a paper about Dr. Kalui, we shall ban every masks of Safaricom. Hiyo natokea wapi tena jamani? I'm being frank. At my age, I cannot keep quiet. I will not go out even if I'm done what? I will tell the truth. Munaanza tena. Hiyo barabara sisi wengine meshaumia. Kazi zetu zimepotea juu ya kudefend that barabara. What to hear, they have started it. And Dr. Kalui, you are in Washington. I am not going to keep quiet and afraid to tell you this. You are a citizen of this country. From 2008, I've suffered insults in this country. I've suffered because of defending such behavior, which is mushrooming slowly. We shall be joining you again. Hold the fire. Let's change the system. It is becoming hot. Take a break. Then you come back and tell us what is going to happen. Don't go away. Keep it on. But don't lose the point. The point is clear. Why are you not collectively working together to save the people? Either you save them or we all perish. Because those are the two options we have. Thank you. Let's cross over to the studio. Meanwhile, relax, have coffee, and put your mask on, ready for the next show, the next phase. Good afternoon.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor, there from the Punchline Political Command Center, and Dr. Kaluyu coming to you all the way from the United States there in the Washington state. Thank you, and they shall be back here shortly, and we shall continue with this conversation. So we're just looking at the collective leadership. Is it the answer to the fight against COVID-19? We've seen a lot of world leaders right now. It is something that the world is dealing with, and a few countries have gotten it right, and a few leaders have gotten it right, and has really intensified the fight against the COVID-19, trying to even to curb the spread of this virus that, like we saw initially when it broke out in Uganda. President Museveni came in with measures that were considered to be not very nice, but we can see perhaps these measures, even as Doctor went through some of the numbers there in Uganda right now, still the people who have been infected, confirmed to have had the COVID-19 is 55. So very low compared to the, how long ago this was since the first case was reported there in Uganda. But when you look at a country like Tanzania, I was looking at the numbers this morning, I think it has gone to about 147. And you can remember how President Pombe Magufuli first responded to this COVID-19 when it broke out there in Tanzania. And now perhaps if Tanzania had taken the measures as Ugandan did, or perhaps as Kenya, of course Kenya is still leading with the numbers in East Africa, but we've seen the measures also that President Uhuru Kenyatta has taken And just now, we've seen even the leadership of a country like the United States, and, Doctor, there we're talking about it. President Trump, sometimes when he's even coming out to issue those press conferences and the things he's been saying in these press conferences, leaves a lot of Americans and indeed the world much confused. And it's very interesting, because even yesterday, I think there were protests in some states there in the United States. People are protesting so that the country can be opened back to business. You wonder, the U.S. is leading now with the number of infections, and also the U.S. is leading in the number of deaths. Like, do you not see? And then also in a state like Florida, I saw people going to the beaches, and the governor there said that, going to the beach is part of essential services, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't. So it's very interesting, and at this point in time, leadership is very important, and collective leadership in general in a country is also very important. Should we fight this COVID-19, and should we win this war against the COVID-19. So as we wait for Dr. Dovi Matanga and also Dr. Kaluyu to come back, Dr. Japheth Kaluyu to come back from Washington, D.C., there, as I've said, and Dr. Matanga from the Political Command Center. I'll just look at one of the newspapers here in Kenya today, the Daily Nation. So these 8 characters, I know it's not even professional for me to say that, but these 8 people, how 8 fake mourners took virus up country. So with an empty coffin strapped on the roof of their van and a fake death certificate, family drove 380 kilometers from city to their village and settled down until curious villagers blew their cover. But was it too late? Like, I read this headline, and I was listening to the news last night, and I just couldn't believe myself. They went all the way to the village from Nairobi. Right now Nairobi has restrictions in coming in and out of it, and for good reasons, because Nairobi now, has the highest numbers of confirmed cases in the country, and also Mombasa follows, and Kilifi and Kwale. So the government thought it to be very wise, so that for this virus not to spread across the country, to restrict movements in these 4 counties. So these 8 people who thought they were very smart, they traveled all the way to the village, and they had a coffin, and they pretended to be mourning, and they went to the village. And so the curious villagers, I just need to read the story, because I cannot. I watched this news with a lot of disbelief, and just the nerve these people had to put the rest of their fellow Kenyans' lives at risk. Now, a group of 8 fake mourners bought a coffin, strapped it onto the roof of a car, hired a driver to take them from Nairobi to Homa Bay to escape the coronavirus containment measures in the city. Now, along the way, they told police and roadblocks that they were transporting a body for a funeral, and they were quickly waved through. They had fake burial permits from Mama Lucy Hospital in Nairobi, and also they lied their way through 380 kilometers from the city to the small town on the shores of Lake Victoria on Tuesday last week. But when villagers saw the coffin strapped on their car, they gathered to mourn with them. However, neighbors got curious and demanded to see the body. Then hell broke loose as they were arrested. So now, what is very interesting in this story is that the driver of that vehicle tested positive for COVID-19. So can you imagine even the villagers who had come there to mourn with them and to inquire how many of these people could have been exposed to the COVID-19? And even these people, the 8, the driver, these are the 7 people who they hired this driver, perhaps they did not know very well, were carried with this vehicle. So there's a possibility even them, over time, they might, test positive for COVID-19. So I don't understand. I think these are people who are supposed to be slapped with a very long sentence somewhere in jail, because they've gone against all the measures the government has put in place to ensure that Kenyans are safe. Like, how do you do that? What was the very reason that made them travel from Nairobi to the village? And on top of that, you go and you purchase a coffin. I mean, this story got me very, very, very mad as a Kenyan. I was not very happy, because I cannot imagine, out of these very ignorant 8 people, how many Kenyans, might now test positive for COVID-19. And so that's That's very, very interesting. So according to the Daily Nation, fake mourners take virus up country as 28,000 risk death over COVID-19. Can you imagine that? So it's the most ridiculous thing, and the government should not relent. The government should deal with these people very, very harshly. Very, very harshly. So I see that Dr.
I can come in there, Miriam.
Yes, I was going to introduce you. Yes, Dr. Matanga is back. Yes.
Just do it.
All right, so Dr. Matanga is back. All right, continue.
And there is a point that is burning me.
Yes.
That's why I want to come in.
Yes.
We have very bad behavior. And we keep on blaming. It goes together with collective responsibility. People have gone on Twitter and Facebook to blame Uhuru must go. Uhuru must go. Even if Uhuru goes today, will the COVID-19 go away? Let's be honest. Even if President Uhuru goes away today, what hasn't he done? He has brought in measures. He has put curfew. You are breaking curfew. You are driving your car, bribing a driver. You have now killed a driver. In fact, you should change this law to Zimbabwean law. In Zimbabwe, it's 20 years. You work 14 good years, 6 are off. And the people, have you seen the numbers in Zimbabwe? Because there is a law, 20 years. Don't tell me you are finding people 5,000 shillings. When that magistrate, who is supposed to be a magistrate of the High Court, of the court, she sneaked with a boyfriend to drink in Embakasi. Then now she writes to say she cannot be in Nairobi. Then why? How dare do you think you are a whole magistrate? You are supposed to give a role model. You are a role model of the people of Africa, of Kenya, in this hour of COVID-19. You drink with the boyfriend at night, and you are not ashamed to come and write in the morning that you are not going to be sitting for that show. Then why were you, how that I am out of Nairobi area? Have you seen that stupidity? Miriam, these things, let the government goes. You know, I want to tell you the truth. And the viewers, wherever you are, I disagree with Museveni on a number of things. We have disagreed with him since 1978. When we were in Tanzania, we disagreed up to today, but there is something that I always give him a credit for. He said, no cars in Nairobi, in Kampala. I swear there is no car. The only car moving in Kampala is government, Land Rover, Yajesh, na police. Tunisia in North Africa seized the streets. Have you seen the figures of Tunisia? They are lower than all the rest of the Mediterranean Sea coast, which are ranging into hundreds of thousands. Now, Kenya is a democratic state with the democracy that killed Rome, where the disease is.
Doctor, and speaking about democracy, what I'm receiving here is that the latest DP Ruto will be now operating at least once a week from Jubilee Party headquarters located in Pangani.
You see, Machiavelli, he wants power. Mm. He wants power while people are dying. Let him operate that. It will not stop any action. If people want the party, he can have it. But he will lead the party with trees. There will be trees. Will you lead the party with trees? Because people at the moment need direction on COVID-19, not a political party. Go and sit in Jubilee headquarters, even sit up to midnight. Safeguard it, become a watchman. No problem. But save the people first. Jamin, save the people first. This disease is killing people. If you can see a country like the country where Dr. Karui is struggling with almost going to 40,000 people dead, an American country which has gone to the moon, then you are here telling us you are going to sit in the Jubilee office. What leadership is this? To do what? To administer what? Files. Go and carry them and you can do them anywhere. It is okay. It is your right. They are right. You are Kenyans. But I'm telling you, this thing now has no Kenyan, no Asian. All the Asians who are caught here are here. All the Bazungu who are caught here are here. There are no planes taking them. All of us who are caught here, who are not Kenyans, are here. We have done our best to broadcast. I have been broadcasting for a whole month to make sure that people get the information. I'm not seeking a reward. I have never gone for him to give me even a reward. After me losing my job, after ICC, he has never. Let me tell him today, let him hear. I don't need it even, because I am well off in my heart. But some of these people, the way they are belittling President Uhuru Kenyatta annoys some of us. We are President Uhuru Kenyatta's, we don't buy friendship. I did not buy friendship. I did not. Even if I'm not in Kenya, I'll remain his friend. Full stop. If there is anybody belittling him, I will stand to defend. Will you stop me? What? What will you stop me? If Museveni failed to stop me from 1978, you who were born recently, you think you'll stop people? Today, let me say something that has been on my heart. Hii mambo ya kuenda kuzungumza maneno Kampala huko kwa Matanga, what? Hata mimi, I know, I've been in this system for a long time, Japan. You can't backbite me. Never. Everything comes back to me. I'm watching. But let me tell you, you belittle the president. You tell pseudo accounts to write about the president. You go to the president's backyard, cause chaos. People, the MP of the president, Moses Kuria, is insulting him. A man who was begging lunch from me in 2003 and 4 in the Intercontinental Hotel. He's even evicting tenants at the COVID hour. How did he get the money to build those apartments? Corruption. This was a beggar begging for lunch in Intercontinental Hotel. We are just sparing them to tell them the truth. You wake up to insult Uhuru. Uhuru has friends. I'm also a friend of Uhuru. I'm annoyed. Just as those who get annoyed when Ruto is insulted. Also when you are insulting Uhuru, I will get annoyed. It doesn't mean, even if I'm not in Kenya, I will be, in fact, when I'm out there, it will be even worse. If you didn't know. Know it today. Iwe jamaa wanatembea hapa wanatishatisha watu. Kutishatisha watu. That banning newspapers. Oh, if you write about this, you shall ban papers. Who gave them the money to ban papers? These are the things that took us to the Hague. We are repeating them. Can I deliver the message clearly? We are repeating them. We are rehearsing. Have you seen 2022? We are rehearsing. And if people don't talk, I have talked because I lost my job for standing for this kind of thing. I will not be in Kenya here on TV being insulted by imbeciles. Some of them who don't even have the capacity to insult me from morning up to evening. Oh, big man, hippo, big stomach, big legs. Because I'm defending the president, I'm writing my essay as a right. They write me big hippo, elephant, oh my God, hippopotamus. All these names are on Matanga. So time has come for me also to speak out. Na mimi niko na watoto tena wangu wazuri kabisa. Wamesoma. Wengine wako na PhD better than me. So all these insults are not going to help me. It's this thing, Mutahi Kagwe comes to tell people, go and wash your hands. And you are telling us you are going to the Jubilee headquarters. Yeah. You go. Let the world know. That Mutahi is telling people, Uhuru is telling people don't travel outside Nairobi. Let's now travel in big numbers, crowd at Jubilee headquarters to safeguard the building from collapsing. So that the building doesn't collapse. Why don't the people pick a phone and call each other? Pick a phone and call. What happened to the telephones? We are educating people to wash hands, not educating people to march towards the Jubilee building. No. But please, you Kenyans now, Dr. Karui and Miriam, go ahead. I am off. I'm off. You know these things started like that. Karui, you were there. They started like that in 2008. I was the only man left. There were like 9 Kenyan who stood against Ocampo. Now some people are beginning to threaten people that and banning newspapers and taking videos. Who gave them the money to ban the newspapers? Who? Isn't that violence? Where can that youth there get the money? Somebody is paying the money. Sasa kesho tutafika huko waseme, I say I don't know. Now you see this? Miriam, you see it? Karui, you see it? You are Kenyan. I am very annoyed because I suffered. I suffered because of ICC. NGOs wanted to kill me. Makau Mutua, your colleague from Kitui, wrote so many things about me. And yet I'm a real man. A real man. Real. And I was belittled. My firstborn is 40 years, whom I labored to produce. Mujue hiyo leo. So this, I'm sorry, Miriam, I will listen in, conduct the interview with Dr. Karui, because some of these things are very painful. Some of us have lost so many things, blacklisted, because we are defending people. Now you see what they are beginning to do now. We are going there soon. Utaona. COVID-19, if it has not taken all of us, there is a drama. There's a drama.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Collective responsibility, Dr. Karui has collapsed.
Yes. And I can feel your pain in the sense that, I do remember the ICC, and definitely it's appreciated. I'm sure many people owe it to you about the fight that you put through and trying to highlight being transparent. I'm sure there are many people who owe you the effort and the expense that you went through. Talking about collective responsibility, it is definitely, we need to understand the value of, and I had spoken it earlier and said that whenever a nation or a group of people, they are threatened, they must come together. Part of it is what we call collective guilt. where the people must take together the rest of the people despite what they are doing and put them together to the effort to fight off a common enemy. COVID-19 is a common enemy, and there is no place for politics. I would say that there isn't a place for politics. It is very important for leaders at this particular time, whether there are differences before Corona. And I can say, and I would say I'm an experienced politician now. I wasn't before, now I am. Went through 2 presidential elections. I know how tough it is. Pre-Corona politics is totally and is going to be totally different from post-Corona politics, because there are going to be dynamics that are going to change. Talking about politics now, it is not going to score the right scores in the right place. So it is time to release it, not to get involved in the politics at the moment, and fight off, support the president. There is a reason why we elect presidents or leaders. It's because we must support those people. When the ship is sinking, everybody must have their hands on the deck, not on the politics. Small politics, and I understand the party politics. I have seen it before when there are rancors within the parties, and those do happen. But it is not time to do it in public. People must go back in within their party offices and be not physical offices, but also resolve it. At particularly this particular time of COVID, when people are fighting politically, it is very discouraging for the communities, for our citizens, and also it is not good for the country, because the world is watching. While they are fighting the corona, we are busy wrangling politically. I believe Honorable Ann Derito was right from RPP, Restore Political Parties, to send the case of Jubilee back to the House, and they can resolve it without having to blow it out. So that needs to stop ICOME, so that all the leaders can come together. And one more important point is, as you express your really definite disappointment in some of these things, I would like to see all the leaders start coming out and give the country comfort, not to take off and go hide in their beautiful houses and big mansions. It is now time to serve. When the challenge shows up and the ship is tested, it is time they need to come out and now start comforting people, giving direction, giving leadership in this. You don't have to be an expert, but you are elected to be part of this. And danger, you signed up as part, danger was part of it. So you cannot say it's corona, everybody goes to their houses, and then that is, we are leading the citizens. But as a leader, you're going to be out there, you're going to be comforting, giving information, working with experts. I always discourage, because I see it on TV when people are misleading, when they hear another country talking about testing without even thinking so much what it means. They just, the journalists or the media on social media, they jump on it. We start saying testing is the solution, or testing should be this or should be that. There needs to be more complex. It is more complex, and it needs to be understood differently. So I need to ask the parliamentarians to even find a way, even if it's virtual, to start working. Start calling. Everything is not shut down. To start calling their citizens, building capacity to make sure the panic is not there. Because in times like this, you get people having stress and also anxiety. And during stress and anxiety, these people can resort into deviant behaviors, and at the same time also turn into suicidal behaviors. The leaders needs to be there to assure them it is happening. In fact, that is one of the things I would like to ask Mutahi Kagwe and to consider. to beyond. World Health Organization usually defines health as both mentally and also physical, which is pathological. You get the disease and you're sick, but also your mind needs to be correct. So I would like to see if they can set up anxiety and stress facility, which people can call. There is one you can call where to go to hospital. That's different, which is directly on COVID. But anxiety sometimes can be very dangerous, where people can even hurt others, hurt their kids. So people, when they are stressed, there's no food or things are happening, they need to call someone, and it could be just 2-minute talk, and the whole thing is resolved. Don't do this, call this is what we are doing, assuring. So they may look into stress and anxiety. Many countries do have that, and it's very important. Now,
yes,
even
before you bring us another item,
yes,
there is this question that the behavior that we have seen,
yes,
Kenyans washing used material.
I saw that. Oh my goodness.
It's all over everywhere.
Yes, I saw that.
Masks.
Mm-hmm.
Our media, our role as the media is to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
This mask, once it has been used, I think the government should come up with something to say they should actually put them in a designated situation where they should be banned. Or say, once you have used it, ban it. Because people are washing them, then they are bringing, and you find so many boys in the evening lining up on Uhuru Highway with masks. So please, this behavior must also stop.
Absolutely.
It must completely stop.
Because masks, doctor, masks can be a saving grace. At the same time, it can be one of the most dangerous items out there. It is not acceptable. It is criminal at best to take masks on the floor or on the road or dustbins, and then you go wash them, you dry them, and then you iron them, whatever you're trying to do. It is silly. It is actually not even, it's very animal-like, trying to disregarding human sense that they know it is dangerous. When you know something that is dangerous and you still continue to do it, it becomes, and you hurt others, it becomes really criminal. Those people should be prosecuted. It should never be allowed. I'm disappointed. I was very disappointed when I saw that is happening, and they need to be pursued. Now, on the streets, the people who are selling masks, you need to ask some questions. You need to be able to know where they are coming from. I would like the government to take charge. If they find someone selling them, they need to be able to show their quality. Because if they are not quality, I have seen people even draw masks on their face so that they can look like they have a white mask, which is making silly notations. This is serious business when it comes to protecting ourselves. And I can say that because I got closed out when I traveled to Washington, D.C., definitely. I can't be able to travel right now. But I can tell you the number of people dying. Corona is very real. It kills. People get infected, and when you get infected, you suffer, and you can make someone else suffer. So to break that cycle, many people, and I'm talking from my office, from home, people are already locked down, and they take responsibility themselves as human beings, as citizens. Mutai Kagwe has said that personally. I said we need to realize this responsibility that we have ourselves as citizens. And my fellow Kenyans, this is no joke. When Kagwe talks, he's not talking from nowhere. We are fighting this. This is not politics. It's not whether we support Mutai Kagwe president or what. It is time to support our country. We can only support it through our current leaders, the Mutai Kagwe, Matiang'i, and the president. Then after that, there are questions that are going to come. We're going to assess the situation, the errors, the mistakes, and also the good things that we have done, and then bring them together. So, I mean, it's very important. And, the youth, that are falling prey of politicians to. There are some who do it on their own, but there must be someone who is always financing them. I mean, politics, I know the background. This needs to stop.
Let me ask you, Dr. Kalui.
Yes.
Where can a youth get money to buy 143,000 newspapers?
It is not mostly youth. Mostly you will not do that nowhere. I mean, that's a direct. It needs to come from a financier.
Yes, the whole delivery of 143 papers in a particular.
That is what we call dirty politics.
From the streets.
It is dirty politics.
Where can Miriam come in? Yes.
No, I just need to clarify a question here asked by one of our viewers about that story about the DP that a statement has been issued. He'll be going to be working from the Jubilee Party headquarters, and John Clark here responded by saying, "I bet you the DP has not issued such a statement." When John Clark, go to the Daily Nation on their Twitter page there, and you'll find that story. So we got it from so we have to clarify that we are not here to do propaganda or to issue false statements. Not on today's paper. No, it is on Twitter. They posted it 3 hours ago. So go check. They'll go to Daily Nation, and they say that the Jubilee Party headquarters located in Pangani. He'll go there as he takes the fight for the ruling party to the doorsteps of his rivals. So yes, this has been said according to the office of the Vice President. So you can go to the Twitter Daily Nation and see the whole story. So we are not purporting anything.
At the time, the media, I wonder whether the Deputy President himself writes these tweets. I asked him one day directly, do you really write these tweets? Do you? Because I had an argument, not an argument, I just posted, I said, surely a deputy head of state to write such tweets? Unless the people writing tweets have not gone to school. Surely they have not gone to school. Or if they went to school, they went to very stupid schools. But if you have gone to a good school, a university like Canterbury, London Guildhall, Nairobi University, and you have actually got these PhD degrees, you can write such tweets. Surely, there is a tweet that you know very well you are going to annoy Dr. Karui. You are going to annoy your boss. You are in the office, then you write such a tweet. At times, maybe, let's give our viewers element of doubt, Mr. Clark. Maybe the tweets are being written by some overzealous people. But if it's him writing some tweets, it's regrettable. It's very regrettable.
Yes. So, Doctor, just on something that you brought up there, and Dr. Kalui has responded to it about these people who are taking these used masks and they're washing them and taking them back to the market and selling it to innocent Kenyans who really don't know that these things have been used. So what then now can, the government do in terms even of the local leadership in these different parts of the country to create awareness and to ensure that any mask that the people of Kenya get to buy or get to access is actually clean, is not reused, is safe for them? So what can the government do at this point in terms of liaising even with the MCAs and the chiefs, and because now we need the people from the grassroots to come in, and what kind of awareness should the government create in terms of ensuring that they know, even these people who are doing this, they understand the dangers that comes with such a thing they're doing right now?
Well, if I may take that, it is very important to understand this, that now we know the dangers of used masks. I would urge, and also maybe Mutai Kagwe, CS Honorable Mutai Kagwe, to be able to tell people that do not buy masks from unknown sources. It should be from known sources like shops. Shops are not likely to go to River Road and wash them. These washed materials, they are coming from the retailers, the people who are, selling them on the street, holding them, a lot of them, and trying to sell them. You don't know where they came from, and you don't know whether even those ones that were never washed, whether someone tried them and then they don't like this one, they return it. What if they had corona and they had tried it? So the people selling masks, whether they are from River Road, the River Road ones, which is criminal, you should not buy from the streets. But even from the shops, they should be handled with care so that they stay clean and sanitary. That's not even enough. When they go home, we want the fathers and the mothers, the people who go home and they bring them back home, to make sure they store them correctly, because kids can take them and say, oh, daddy looks nice on the mask, let me try it. And then it is serious. They can be messed around, the kids can be infected, or not just for corona. When you use mask and you breathe in, you could be having other bacteria that can affect, the kids and other people. And, disposal, to make sure how you fold them, where you throw them. So the disposal hasn't been correct just when you throw them on the street. Why would you throw them? These are what we call medical waste. Medical waste is very dangerous. It's hazardous. So we need to start educating the people. And I would like to see the Department of Health take this. Public health is very serious. And if I ever get the opportunity, we need to be able to talk serious public health and how to handle it. The surveillance, not just for coronavirus. We don't want just to concentrate, because a lot of things come with coronavirus, other diseases, how handling things, how disease can be transferred, others, just including what we call comorbidity. When you get coronavirus, other things are invited, other diseases, because of how you handle this disease. So you can be having other comorbidities or sicknesses along brought up by coronavirus. Okay. So we need to be able to have a firm, strict, strong, from now on, healthy system. And just to throw in, we want to make sure that the diaspora is looped in on this, on making sure that we can volunteer in terms of physical information or just be brought in with expertise. There are more doctors in the United States and other countries than in Africa entirely. Doctors from Africa, which we call the brain drain. There are more researchers who come to research information in Africa, bring it to United Nations, log it in databases, and those databases also, they are now used by Africans. We need to find a way to involve diaspora. I'm sure there should be some restructurings that are coming up, because we used to have a diaspora department. I don't know whether it is still existing
Yes, and
we need diaspora to be good.
Doctor, yes.
Thank you. You have brought a very good point.
Yes.
Let's get Miriam.
Yes. I just we seem to be have a limited time again. So I just want him to respond to, because we also had some other African news to respond to in regards to the COVID-19. I'll just read three very quickly so that he can respond, and then perhaps he can have his final comment. So in Nigeria, we saw the Chief of Staff, Abakari, who died from coronavirus. A statement from President Muhammadu Buhari came out. He was very close with President Buhari. So after he died, of course, now he got when you see the photos, there are a lot of people attended the burial there, which is contrary to all the measures of social distancing. People did not even observe social distancing and things like this. And now medical experts in Nigeria are saying that everybody who attended that funeral, that burial, needs to be quarantined. So that is a very high-profile government official there from Nigeria. So we saw nothing in regards to safety in terms of coronavirus was observed there. And also in Malawi, Doctor, we saw some human rights activists going to court and obtaining an injunction to stop the Malawian government from issuing a lockdown in the country to help spread of the COVID-19. So now Malawian government, the lockdown was supposed to start yesterday, but it did not start because this human rights activist went to court and stopped that order. So that I don't know, goes against even the safety.
Malawi.
Yes, that is in Malawi, and also in South Sudan. Yes. The human rights activists went to court to stop the government from starting the lockdown yesterday, and the court gave them the issue.
Yes, I am saying
yes.
Let me tell you,
yes,
Miriam, there is no government in Malawi. There is NGO government.
So, Doctor, such things in lines with the collective leadership we see here in Nigeria, very high profile, government official dies, and we see a lot of people attending this funeral. And right now, it shouldn't be like that. And when you see the photos, they did not even observe social distancing or such measures to ensure that they're safe. How is this even leadership? Perhaps the doctor could comment on these two stories, and then as he makes his last comments. Yes.
Yeah, so in Nigeria, quickly, because I'm sure you are saying time is moving. Nigeria, first, it proves what Dr. Masanga has said earlier. COVID-19 does not know any high office. It affects everyone. And that is a proof that anyone can be affected, and we must follow the guidelines, whether it is high offices, small person, health workers. This is no joke. And I'm living in a country, or I'm currently situated right now in a country where there is a lot of deaths. We are talking 4,000-5,000. When these things moves to higher level, it can kill a lot of people at the same time. So when Kagwe gets mad at people, it means that he can see something that really can happen really bad. Now, number two, in terms of the NGOs, we can't mix health and politics. And I almost laughed because the doctor said there is no government and NGO. I've never heard such a quote. But it is true, you cannot mix politics and health. The proven methods and practices that work needs to be applied so that you can slow down. And you can see example is Kenya. We haven't moved very fast in terms of numbers. And there are many numbers in Mali and other places in West Africa, but our numbers have been growing slower because of the methods that we are trying to use. So when I see things like coffin, people having an empty coffin with a vehicle, this I register my disappointment. You can't do that. It must stop. Ikome. Period.
All right.
Thank you very much, Dr. Karuyi. We shall meet again at 8 o'clock. Be ready. This one will be longer. It will be online via phone. So you will be speaking freely. You can speak longer, and you will be broadcast from this side. So get ready with your phone. Call the number +254 795 638 145. Nairobi, Kenya. 8 o'clock, diplomatic leaks. And the leaks are what happened between Washington, Beijing, and Geneva. What happened? That's the topic coming, diplomatic leaks.
Okay.
You are a health expert. Why didn't Kenya fuse you to become World Health Organization Chair, Director General? You would have done a better job than Mr. Tedros. So these are things that we want to talk about tonight and see which way forward. You can see mercantile capitalism has come in. Bill Gates, George Soros, Trump. So many people are playing politics on us. Ramaphosa. We Africans, before Corona takes us down, we have to shout Jamen. Because we don't know, when did these people plan this Corona? When was it planned? Because you are in the US, you are hearing so many things. So we want to know. I'm happy about the British. They have come up and they have said enough is enough. After this, they will go deep sea, deep. And I'm with them. Let's go deep to find out what it is this Mr. Tedros and his other people, Bill Gates, and so many other people. What is it? They are smelling smell money. Surely these people have made money. Why are they smelling more money? Why did God bring us together with these people? We innocent Africans are dying for nothing. They want to inject us again with something we don't know.
Well, thank you so much for your opportunity to be in this show tonight. This afternoon, and I want to assure the Kenyans that I'm with you. I'm fighting with you. If you go to my social media accounts, you will see the information that I inseminate, I call, I comfort our people back home in our communities. If everybody did that, it would be nice. I am ready for duty. If my country calls me to serve in any capacity so that we can beat this, I am ready despite the challenges, because soldiers go to war, and if anything happens, it happens. So I'm ready. So thank you so much.
Why don't you come back, you Dr. Kalui, create AU World Health, African Health Organization?
Actually, I am so happy you mentioned that, because I posted and I requested.
We are fed up with, you know what?
Yes.
Dr. David Matanga.
Yes.
I have no respect for the ICJ, ICC, and now I have added another one. UN Peacekeeping Force. You remember Kofi Annan killed our people in Rwanda?
Yes.
We have not forgiven him. He has gone to the grave without answering our questions. War.
All right.
He looked to the other side. The Somali judge, that small man called Abdallah Yusuf Kio, he was going to sentence to give the islands in the Indian Ocean to Somalia. I went there, I stopped. He's retired. Now, this other one called Tegro, what? This one here, in Geneva. I am personally telling you, those people in the world, you hear me. I worked with that guy in London, in Uganda Community Relief Association. He was in Ethiopian Relief Association. He's a thief. So I am not, let him say he doesn't know me. Let me take off the glasses, maybe. I have only added on weight, but I was very slender and handsome. Now I've become ugly. Otherwise, I know this man, Tegro, Commander. His name is Commander Tegro of Tigray Liberation Front. Don't forget, I know everything. This guy here filled a form that put us in chaos, and our funding was removed.
Yeah. Well,
so when I see these hiccups, some leaders in Africa are thinking I'm mad to refuse an African. Well, I am not mad. I have evidence of this man. Go and ask a Faki, a Sire, a Faki, the president of Eritrea. If he will not tell you, he knows Matanga, he knows Tegro, he knows Zenawi. We were together, and Dr. Nambago. That man is a thief. Who is he?
You are still handsome, doctor, and you can be assured that. And I saw you are trying to live even longer with the riding bicycles.
He has been looking at me. I started this journey of his removal from the office, and I swear, don't ever tamper Matanga on international law. Never cross my line. If I don't get this, 169 countries in the world now, they want Mr. Tegros out. He has remained with about 27 African countries supporting him now.
Yeah, that is an important point. But there's a point that you mentioned. There is a point that was very important that you said about African Health Organization. I called and I think copied the State House that I wanted the president to be the first to call for World Health Organization. I mean, not World, because World Health Organization is having wrangles and supremacy wars, and it was being defunded. So we can still have Africa Health Organization that the president needs to call, and we can even go back to start putting through the efforts of Amina Mohammed to the AU as well, and put our people. In other words, Kenya can be a leader, the gateway to Africa. I would like to see President call for that, and diaspora pile on, and we get together with other African countries. We are experts. We are not apologetic about our knowledge in health and research and other areas. So we are ready to support if it is called upon. So let's not lose our focus through Corona is teaching us. Let's call for Africa Health Organization, not just for research, but also for funding, because we also contribute to World Organization, and that funding also comes back to us. We can still have governments contribute to it and start baby steps. It will be big. So that was important that you reminded me, and I'm ready for duty for all these things. So whenever I'm called up for duty, we will do this. I'm ready.
You get it coming, man. You better do it. AU needs an African health organization.
Yes. And I know how to do it.
We cannot collect our money. Yes. We cannot go to that place that has not warned us that there is human attraction.
I know how to do it.
Don't go there again. This man said there is no human to human. Then there is now human to human. Look at the way we are lying. And he's going to hide in Geneva with his wife. He's hiding there.
We need to do better. We need to do better.
I don't want to tell you many things here, Jamen. You know what? This is a very serious matter. And African presidents, some of them think I'm making noise. As soon as Mr. Tedros went to China, I knew something was wrong. And you remember, I'm one of the few Africans who started shouting in January. But because I am Matanga, I am useless. People
no, you're not useless. You are not useless. No, we need African men.
Some people call me. They call me here. You give them advice. You write to them. They call you useless. Now,
no, you're not useless. No, you're not useless. Someone ought to be talking and pointing out issues, the dangers, pointing out the landmines, because men and women of Africa need to be talking.
Before you go, and we allow Miriam her time, I am the one who cast Tony Blair. In 1998, I stood up in Labour Conference, Delegates Conference in Brighton. I put up my hand. I said to Tony Blair, I've been a member of the Labour Party since 1987. But Your Excellency Prime Minister, you have erred in putting sanctions on Zimbabwe. But if you have done so, that you have now agreed, they will haunt you. And I said you will come to Africa to look for a job one day. Wasn't Tony Blair looking for a job from Uhuru Kenyatta? When I found him in the hotel here, I laughed. I told him, my party leader, I told you. Later on, they agreed that Matanga was right. A black man with my English from Uganda, I said it so. So that this Tedros will kill us. Let's give Miriam with her burning story of Africa. Thank you very much, my brother. 8 o'clock, diplomatically. Prepare your voice. It is a long journey. And also all your literature, I'm going to send it to Mr. Kagwe. Because some of the things you as a specialist, it is very good the Ministry of Health can have some of those guidelines to assist in preventing further deaths in Africa. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank
Miriam,
you.
over to you.
Yes, that was Dr. Japheth Kaluyu. He was a former presidential candidate in our last general election in 2017, and he has been joining us all the way from Washington, D.C. in United States. Doctor, keeping safe there, even as the rest of us continue to observe these measures that the governments have put in place. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later. So now we just move ahead with other news making headlines across Africa. We had some African news today, and then Doctor will come in and pick on some of the news that I'll be going through now. And we start with Lesotho, where Lesotho's prime minister, who is accused of murdering his estranged wife, has deployed the army on the streets to restore order. In a TV address, Thomas Tambane accused unnamed law enforcement elements of seeking to undermine democracy. The decision comes a day after the Constitutional Court ruled against his decision to suspend parliament. And we move to Malawi, where plans for a lockdown in Malawi have been scuppered at the last minute after a court injunction ordered it to be delayed by at least 7 days. Lawyers have said it was due to begin on Saturday. The news will come as a relief to traders who have fiercely opposed a lockdown because of the serious threat they say it poses to their livelihood. And then we move to Tunisia, where the Interior Ministry in Tunisia says that 2 men, including a suspected jihadist, have been arrested over an alleged plot to infect members of the security forces with coronavirus. The ministry says that the suspected jihadist, recently released from prison, had tried to encourage those who might have the virus to cough on police and security officials. The man says that he was told to deliberately cough everywhere when he reported to his local police station as part of the surveillance he was under. Ridiculous there, but very dangerous. And in Eritrea, Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki has delivered his first public address on the coronavirus pandemic since the country recorded index case on March 21st. In a message broadcast via public broadcasters Eri TV and Radio Dimtsi Hafash, he likened the COVID-19 pandemic to a sudden war that the world least expected and thus not fully prepared for. And in Cameroon consolidated its spot as Central Africa's most impacted nation, doubling its coronavirus tally in 15 days and going past the 1,000 mark. In early April, the country's infection stood at 509. It has now reached 1,017 as of April 18th. And of course, right now we have the latest there, so we shall read. According to reports by the Johns Hopkins Hospital University tracking site, there are 117 recoveries with 22 deaths. A social media push for President Paul Biya to address the nation did not pay off exactly, but the president popped up on Thursday after a very long public absence. And in Chad, a group of 44 suspected members of Boko Haram arrested during a recent operation against the jihadist group have been found dead in their prison cell, apparently poisoned, Chad's chief prosecutor announced on Saturday. And in South Sudan, one of the 99 contacts of the first coronavirus case has reportedly left the country with the aid of the United Nations mission in South Sudan. The person who was said to have been under quarantine left the country aboard a UN flight, the high-level task force on COVID-19 pandemic said on Saturday. The spokesperson of the task force, who is also the undersecretary in the Ministry of Health, says the person is reported to have arrived in his or her home country with the aid of the United Nations office in Juba. Look at that. And we go to Somalia, where Somalia's prime minister has classified media as an essential service during the COVID-19 pandemic, but now at least 4 journalists have been briefly detained over their coverage. As of Friday, Somalia had 80 confirmed cases and 5 deaths, and authorities have imposed a nighttime curfew in Mogadishu, where most of the cases were recorded. Journalists covering the virus in the country, including reporting on the availability of the personal protective equipment or traders allegedly smuggling in goods during the quarantine, have been detained, in some cases forced to drop the stories. And in Tanzania, the country began observing 3 days of national prayers on Friday as COVID-19 infections increased. President John Magufuli made the declaration for nationwide prayer on Thursday, urging Tanzanians to pray for God's protection and healing as 6 more people tested on Friday. And of course, by Friday, the number was at 94. Right now in Tanzania, the infection has risen to 147. And in Uganda, the Joint Security Task Force has conducted nationwide operations to crack down on motorists who are flaunting the ban on movement of vehicles as part of government efforts to fight the spread of the coronavirus in Uganda. On Saturday, according to a statement by Fred Enanga, the police spokesperson, security teams created several checkpoints and found motorists who had left their homes to visit friends, go for non-essential shopping, transporting passengers, while others for no reason at all. In the course of the operation, a total of 83 stickers were withdrawn from motorists in Kampala metropolitan area there. Doctor, Ugandan government is not playing there. If you cannot hear what the government is saying, then they'll take your sticker. And we've seen these measures that a lot of people criticize when this case was reported in Uganda for the first time. But the measures President Museveni put in place has ensured that Uganda has very low infections right now, only at 55, considering the time the first case was reported there in Uganda. Perhaps if these measures the government had not put in place, now we'd be looking at totally different numbers. So what do you say to this? We see also some very funny characters there, like we see in Kenya, trying to go against the directive there by the government. But yes, the police there is not playing.
I'm you used the word funny characters.
Yes.
Yeah, for the first time.
How do you take a coffin, doctor? Like, it's not even funny. These people needs to stay in jail for a good number of their lives.
Then we have another funny journalist called Alai, who writes and says the story is fake. You see, you have seen what Alai has said.
Homa Bay governor himself called the Ministry of Health. Yes.
The Homa Bay governor.
Yes.
The people have been arrested.
He's the one who alerted the government. Yes.
Yes. Then he says it is a fake story. You know, I went to school, so at times I keep quiet with such people. You know, have you seen the type of annoyance that makes even somebody to say funny characters? Like the language you have never used in your life. But here you are, they are funny characters. How do you hire? And you are who is being hired because you want money. You know, they want money. Drivers want money. One of the drivers who was dropping food at my daughter's house said, I wanted the cab. He said, which number is that? I gave the number, the details. From Nairobi to drop at Chadwell Heath, where the house is in North London. He said, oh, boss, that area has got so many homes. It is a residential area, so I'm not going. People are honest. Do you know how much it was? 120 pounds. But he said, sir, I'm not taking it. Asking for another company, but not this one. So people are honest because he feared that going to that place, he could, as he's dropping the things, he meets something on the way. So, but this driver was hired all the way from Mombasa. And you are going in, how many places did they eat meat? How many places did they go for short call? Have you seen the problem? We have dotted the disease. And getting all these people is not possible. And then when he was coming, he must have carried some other passengers. Oh no, the car was impounded.
Yes.
So he cannot carry the car. He cannot carry passengers. So, yes. Miriam,
it's very unfortunate.
There's something wrong. Yes.
And also, speaking about very funny characters, we see now in Tunisia, some people who are released from jail, suspected jihadists right now, they want to go around spitting on police officers so that they can spread this coronavirus for those who have it as much as possible in Tunisia. I mean, I know it's funny characters, but not really funny again. Very serious things here.
Why don't you say Africa we are cursed? Have you seen in Nigeria, the people who went to bury this man, who was one of the most ruthless
chief of staff, of President Muhammadu Buhari there. Mm-hmm.
What? Chief of what?
Chief of staff.
One of the most ruthless people in Nigerian politics is that guy. I met him once in London, and I agreed he's ruthless. This is the man who has been shaping Buhari.
Yes.
All the atrocities committed against the Igbo people is that guy. And you see, when the people came out of the barrio, they started removing the white uniform and dropping it just on the road. The one for the barrio, the men who did the barrio themselves. You have not seen that clip. It is there. They even crowded over the grave, which was not worth social. They have given more contacts with a crowd that never wanted to have a problem. Miriam, let me tell you, my sister, my beloved sister, we are bewitched. If you can see a man saying he's going to Jubilee House to work, we are let's leave it to God. We are bewitched. In Africa, tuko na shida kubwa. President Uhuru Kenyatta is thinking of what to do with it.
It's just once a week.
That once a week.
Just once a week to ensure that the Jubilee headquarters is okay. I don't know.
Why can't we distribute food like we used to distribute money? Yeah. We used to distribute a lot of money in the churches. Oh, fundraising, all this. Now money, there is M-Pesa. There is M-Pesa. You can't say you cannot send it to those churches to erect tents. Send the M-Pesa. Fungua mfuko. You lied to us that until then, when we're done, we are done. So we are here. Watu wanataka ebesha, especially this way. Pesa. Fungua. Or it has dried. Me, I'm just thinking aloud. Don't quote me. This have collective responsibility. Miriam, collective responsibility. Collective responsibility. It's very important. Let's help the president. This gentleman has tried. I think once the term comes to an end and we all go to Addis Ababa, God willing, we shall say, oh, we tried. It has been a long journey, this one. I don't know. First, they started the politics. Second, now they dismantled everything. Then they went and planted bad language amongst youth. Miriam, if I was to grow thin, I would have grown thin because of the words, the insults I'm given every day. Hey, yeah. At times I sleep on my bed and I say, what? It is too much. To the extent that your children who are reading this insults ask the question, what have you done to people to deserve this? But that is the life. But there you are, as you said, mad people. A man spitting on the street in Tunisia. Orders to catch.
Spitting on the police, yes. He's a suspected jihadist.
In Kenya, we are even washing. Hey, Yeah. Are we all right? We are washing masks.
But on this one, I'm sure the government will take the proper measures, because this is not acceptable. And now that we see some other places like Kawangware now having recorded a case, place like where across. So there's a potential of this COVID-19 spreading really fast when it has reached such areas. And this mask, most likely they'll be, sold in such areas. So Kenyans must be very vigilant out there, and just buy your masks from places where you truly trust. Yes.
I was watching something very interesting. The COVID pattern in Somalia seemed to be running too fast.
You were reading it and I got shocked here, Doctor. I was like, what? It's just last week we were at 11, I think 10.
Yes, they run so fast because people are still sitting out on verandas eating mira in company.
There's no mira coming from Kenya, so I don't know where this mira.
Mira being grown somewhere.
In Somalia.
Yes. This story of Somalia funding is a very, don't forget it. Thank you very much. But Miriam, I want to ask you one thing. Let Kenyans wash hands, keep a distance, social distance, sanitize. If possible, now we can show all the labels. Sanitize, stay home and stay safe. I think today we have done our best. And I'm sorry for having brought up something, but it is you who triggered me. When you said somebody is going to work, when work is to serve people, so you triggered me.
Some people are tired of working from home, so they want to go visit the offices once in a while and see that everything is in order, then go back home. So it's all good, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You know what? I don't know. Africa at times. By the way, Miriam, I didn't tell you, Zimbabwe yesterday.
Yeah, celebrated 40 years.
Yes. And
of independence.
I had not told you. I did not show you this book. Yeah, several copies. They have about 100 people have sent money for the copies. It will be printed out after COVID or during this. I'm trying to get hold of the publisher to release more copies. So I want to thank all those who sent their money for the copies, that you have received an acknowledgement from. If you receive the acknowledgement with the name and the bank account, it plays back the bank account. It means your money was received. Those who are writing checks, I've told you where to write the checks. I've write them to my residence, which I have given to you, not in Nairobi, but in the capital city of the United Kingdom. You can have your take time, include if you are in the United Kingdom, you include £3 for
shipping.
For post.
For shipping, yes.
For shipping. But if you are outside United Kingdom, you include £5 on top of the 15 euros that it costs. So thank you very much. That is all what I wanted. It's a nice book. It's for history students, those who want to know that I wrote about Zimbabwe, here we are. God bless you. Miriam, back to you.
Right, thank you so much there, Doctor, and thank you so much, our viewers, for staying in touch and for engaging with us this afternoon. This has been Africa Showdown. I hope to see you here tomorrow. Early in the morning, we will have the morning express, a daytime express, yes, at 9 a.m. East African time, and then at 11 a.m. we shall have Good Morning Africa, and then later on we will have another show. So thank you so much. So I hope to meet you here tomorrow, but Doctor shall be with you in the evening, and he will be having another conversation with Dr. Japheth Kaluyu from Washington, D.C. So I hope you join him then. For me here in the studio, I've been your host, Miriam Ogutu, and so it is bye-bye from me.
It's bye-bye for me from the Political Command Center of Punchline Africa Television. This station is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa. Ciao. Aso.